The sun was setting over the jagged cliffs of Santorini, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, when Lila's world began to unravel. She stood on the balcony of a pristine white villa, her sundress fluttering in the warm Mediterranean breeze, her phone clutched tightly in her trembling hand. A single text message had just shattered the illusion of her perfect vacation. "I know you're not with your friends. I saw the pictures. How could you do this to me?" The words, sent by her boyfriend Ethan, burned into her heart like acid. Lila's stepfather, Richard, was inside the villa, humming a tune as he poured wine, oblivious to the storm brewing in her chest. This trip, meant to be a carefree escape, had become a tangled web of secrets, betrayal, and a desperate search for redemption. Lila's decision to lie to Ethan, to tell him she was vacationing with friends instead of her stepfather, had seemed harmless at first, a small fib to avoid his jealousy. But now, as the truth unraveled, she realized the cost of her deception might be everything she held dear. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of healing broken hearts, please hit that like button, leave a comment, share this story, and subscribe to Gentle Hearts for more stories that touch the soul. Your support keeps these stories alive. Lila's story began months earlier, in the quiet suburbs of a small American town, where she lived with her mother, Karen, and her stepfather, Richard. At 22, Lila was a dreamer, a college student with a passion for photography and a heart full of hope. She and Ethan had been together for 3 years, their love a steady anchor in her often chaotic life. Ethan was dependable, kind, and fiercely protective, but his insecurities sometimes cast a shadow over their relationship. He didn't trust Richard, not because of anything specific, but because of the way Richard's easy charm and worldly confidence seemed to outshine his own quieter demeanor. Richard, a successful architect in his late 40s, had entered Lila's life when she was 16, after her mother's painful divorce from her biological father. Richard was warm, supportive, and treated Lila like his own daughter, filling a void left by years of absence and disappointment. But Ethan's discomfort with Richard had grown over time, fueled by small moments, a lingering hug, a shared laugh, that he interpreted as threats to his place in Lila's life. Lila, caught between her loyalty to Ethan and her gratitude for Richard's role in her family, often found herself navigating a delicate balance. The idea for the Santorini trip had come from Richard, a spontaneous gesture to celebrate Lila's recent graduation. He had always dreamed of showing her the world, and with Karen tied up with work, he suggested a stepfather-stepdaughter adventure to Greece. Lila was thrilled at the prospect of capturing the island's beauty through her camera lens, imagining whitewashed buildings and turquoise waters immortalized in her portfolio. But when she mentioned the trip to Ethan, his face darkened. "Just you and him?" he asked, his voice tight. Lila, sensing the brewing storm, downplayed the trip, assuring him it was a group outing with friends. It was a lie born of fear of Ethan's jealousy, fear of another argument, fear of losing the one person who made her feel safe. She convinced herself it was a small, harmless deception, one that would keep the peace. Richard, unaware of the lie, was overjoyed to plan their itinerary, booking a villa overlooking the caldera and filling their days with boat tours and sunset dinners. Lila's excitement grew, but so did the weight of her secret, a quiet guilt that gnawed at her as the departure date approached. The first few days in Santorini were a dream. Lila wandered the cobblestone streets of Oia, her camera clicking furiously as she captured the vibrant blue domes and cascading bougainvillea. Richard was the perfect companion, sharing stories of his own travels, encouraging her to chase her dreams, and even posing for her photos with a playful grin. They laughed over plates of fresh octopus and sipped wine under starlit skies, bonding in a way they never had before. For Lila, it was a chance to see Richard not just as a stepfather, but as a mentor, a friend who believed in her potential. Yet, beneath the surface, her lie to Ethan loomed like a dark cloud. She posted carefully curated photos on social media, avoiding any that showed Richard, reinforcing the illusion of a girl's trip. But the internet is a treacherous place, and a mutual friend's tagged photo of Lila and Richard at a seaside taverna found its way to Ethan's feed. The text message that followed was the first crack in her carefully constructed facade. As the days passed, Lila's guilt intensified. She tried to call Ethan, but he wouldn't answer. His texts grew colder, more accusing, each one a dagger to her heart. "You lied to me. You chose him over me." Lila's attempts to explain that it was just a family trip, that she hadn't meant to hurt him, fell on deaf ears. She spent sleepless nights on the villa's balcony, staring at the moonlit sea, wrestling with the consequences of her choice. Why had she lied? Was it really just to avoid a fight, or was there a deeper truth she wasn't ready to face? Lila began to question her own motivations, wondering if she had unconsciously prioritized her bond with Richard because he offered a kind of unconditional support Ethan sometimes withheld. The realization was painful, forcing her to confront the complexities of her relationships and the ways she had let fear dictate her actions. Richard noticed the change in Lila's demeanor. Her usual spark was dimming, replaced by a quiet unease. One evening, as they sat on the villa's terrace, he gently asked what was wrong. Lila hesitated, her instinct to protect her secret warring with her need for guidance. Finally, the truth spilled out, her lie to Ethan, the photos, the texts, the growing rift. Richard listened without judgment, his eyes soft with understanding. He shared his own story of a mistake from his past, a time when he had hurt Karen by keeping a secret about a work project that went wrong. "The truth always finds a way out," he said, his voice steady. "But it's what you do after it's out that matters." His words struck a chord, and Lila began to see a path forward, not an easy one, but one that required honesty, courage, and a willingness to face the consequences. The turning point came when Lila decided to return home early. She couldn't enjoy the beauty of Santorini while her heart was breaking, and she knew she had to face Ethan in person. Richard supported her decision, booking her a flight and offering to come with her for moral support. Lila declined, feeling this was a journey she needed to take alone. The flight back was a blur of anxiety and reflection. She replayed every moment of her relationship with Ethan, from their first kiss under a willow tree to the quiet evenings spent dreaming about their future. She also thought about Richard, whose presence in her life had been a gift, not a threat. The lie had been her mistake, not his, and she vowed to make things right, even if it meant losing Ethan. When Lila arrived at Ethan's apartment, her heart was in her throat. He opened the door, his face a mix of anger and hurt, and for a moment, she thought he might turn her away. But she asked to talk, and he let her in. The conversation that followed was raw, painful, and honest. Lila admitted her lie, explaining why. She had felt the need to hide the truth. She spoke of her love for Ethan, her gratitude for Richard, and her regret for letting fear drive her actions. Ethan listened, his silence heavy but attentive. When he finally spoke, he admitted his own insecurities, how he had let jealousy cloud his trust in her. The conversation wasn't a fairy tale resolution, it was messy, tearful, and uncertain. But it was also a beginning, a chance to rebuild on a foundation of truth. Over the weeks that followed, Lila and Ethan worked to repair their relationship. It wasn't easy, trust, once broken, takes time to mend. Lila also grew closer to Richard, who became a confidant in her journey to understand herself better. She started therapy, exploring the fears and insecurities that had led to her lie, and found a new sense of clarity. Her photography flourished, her images capturing not just beauty but the raw emotion of human connection. Santorini, once a place of betrayal, became a symbol of growth, a reminder that even the deepest mistakes could lead to healing. As Lila's story comes to a close, it's a testament to the power of honesty, forgiveness, and the courage to face our flaws. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in the possibility of second chances, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to Gentle Hearts to join a community that celebrates stories of love, redemption, and the beauty of being human. And before we end, we have a special request. In the comments below, share a moment when you found courage to face a mistake or rebuild a broken bond. Your story could inspire someone else to take that first step toward healing. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next story.